Hello everyone, I hope you're all okay. Welcome to Lecture 8 in our listening and speaking course. In our previous lectures we discussed listening subskills, and in our last lecture we did some listening practice, and in today's lecture we're going to discuss listening question types. So let's start. So, listening question types. As you can see, sometimes listening questions are combined with speaking activities. So you listen to a speaker and you respond with your own voice or with your own words. And this happens when you listen to something and you are asked to summarize maybe what you listened to, or to say or to tell someone your opinion about what you listen to. Okay, and sometimes they are combined with writing activities. Okay, so you respond to what you've heard by answering questions in written form or by writing an essay. يعني you listen to something, to an audio or a piece of listening material, and you respond to it by answering written questions or essay, and this happens in the TOEFL IBT course. You listen to a lecture and you are asked to summarize what the lecture is about, okay, by writing. So you write a piece of or an article, a piece of writing summarizing what you listen to. And you may also encounter some pre-listening questions, but most questions all will come after you hear a conversation. Sometimes, as you've seen in our last lecture, in some of our practices, we did a pre-listening question or warming up questions. This doesn't happen very often, and most of the questions come after you hear a conversation. Okay, هنا most standardized tests have a listening component. زي ما بتعرفوا التوفل, الآيلتس, these tests have a listening component. You will score higher on the test if you can anticipate the types of questions you will encounter. طبعا بتكون فرصة حصولك على علامة أعلى بتكون أكبر إذا كان أنت عندك القدرة على التنبؤ بنوعية الأسئلة اللي هتسألها. وطبعا هذه القدرة على التنبؤ بتيجي من الخبرة والبراكتس. yes, okay, اللي هو continuous أو daily practice on listening gives you this experience. تمام؟ Now, let's have a look at some types of questions that you may encounter in listening exercises. Well, the first type is main idea questions. So in these questions, you are asked to describe the gist or main idea behind a lecture, a conversation, or a speech. And do you remember listening for gist? So this is the kind of question that you may be asked to give the main idea of a conversation. Okay, now detailed questions, you answer who, what, where, when, how, and why questions about what you hear. So you look, if you remember, we discussed listening for specific information and listening in detail. And we said that listening for specific information is when you listen to get a specific or a certain piece of information. وعادة بتكون factual information, اسم مكان, رقم, اسم شخص, سنة ميلاد, سنة كذا, يعني أسئلة زي هيك. و listening in detail, it's when you listen and you don't know the questions you're going to be asked. فwhat we mean by detail هنا هو listening for specific information. Okay. طيب, inference questions, draw conclusions about what you heard. Example, what can be inferred about? And do you remember inferential listening. So we listen to a conversation and we deduct or we conclude something from what we listen to. تمام؟ وحكينا infer هي بمعنى يستنتج. Now about the speakers. So in this kind of questions, you respond to questions about the speaker based on what he or she talks about. So you answer questions about the speaker and you get the answer from what he or she talks about. Examples of this type of question: what does the speaker mean by? يعني حسب ما سمعت من كلام السبيكر إيش قصده بموضوع معين أو إيش هو يعني بشغلة معينة. How does the speaker feel about something؟ إيش شعوره أو رأيه في موضوع معين. طبعا هذا الإشي ببين من language. Sometimes the reaction of a speaker helps you, intonation, stress، كل هذه الأشياء بتساعدني أعرف الإشي اللي السبيكر ما حكاهوش بشكل صريح. أشياء تانية بتفهمني هو إيش بده يحكي لي أو هو إيش رأيه في هذا الموضوع. تمام. What does the speaker mean when he says أو when she says؟ ماذا يقصد أو ماذا قصد عندما قال كذا كذا. طبعا من المحادثة أنا بفهم، ومن السياق، ومن نبرة صوته، ومن الستريس اللي عمله، وهكذا كتير شغلات بتدلني. What does the speaker conclude؟ إيش كان رأيي أو إيش السبيكر بإيش أنهى كلامه أو محادثته. Why does the speaker mention something؟ ليش ذكر شغلة. تمام. يعني إذا كلها أسئلة متعلقة بالسبيكر. According to the speaker, what is blah blah. Okay. What does the speaker say about؟ تمام. كلها أشياء متعلقة بالسبيكر and their reaction or their attitude to something in the conversation. Now, written response. And as we mentioned earlier, some questions يعني ask you to listen to a recording and then write a short or long written response based on a related question. تمام. As I said, this is very similar to TOEFL, IBT, listening questions, and also writing questions, because this kind of questions mixes the two skills. So you listen to something, you understand it, or you are tested on your ability to understand, and then you are required to write something really on a related question. بيعطوك سؤال بيكون related للlistening ومطلوب منك تكتب عليه مقال. فبرضه هيتم تقييمك على الwritten piece نفسها. يعني بيتم تقييمك على الكتابة والجوهر أو المضمون تبع الكتابة اللي أنت مفروض فهمته من listening. Now the next kind is pre-listening questions. Pre-listening questions ما قبل listening. وهذه زي what do you already know about this subject؟ يعني بتكون أنت عارف you know what you're going to listen to and you are asked this general question: what do you know about the subject؟ تمام. What would you like to know? Or maybe this question: is there anything that you would like to know? So what is فرضاً listening كان عن star signs فرضاً اللي هي الأبراج. what is a star sign؟ تمام. what does فراغ mean؟ what does a star sign mean؟ okay. Post listening questions. So these are questions that you answer after you listen to a conversation or a recording. The first one: what is the gist of this talk, lecture or reading؟ طبعا طبيعي إنه سؤال الجست question بيكون بعد ما أنت تكون سمعت على الأقل recording لمرة واحدة. What are the speakers mainly discussing؟ This is something يعني Also يعني popular, a very common question اللي هي بيشبه ال just question. What is the main problem? برضو this is similar to the just question. What does gap mean? Same way. Who is the target audience? And why does يعني المحادثة معمولة لمين؟ موجهة. Why does the speaker say something? Okay. And what do you think will happen next? بسألك عن يعني expectations. تمام. Maybe في هذا الجزء أو هذا النوع من الأسئلة بيكون في part 1 للمحادثة. You listen to it and you are asked what do you think will happen next, and then you listen to the other part of the conversation. وهنا place the following in a chronological order. وهنا بيكون فرضا listening عن تاريخ بلد معين، بيحكي لك رتب لي الأحداث هذه chronologically بترتيب زمني، فرتبهم حسب ما وردوا بالlistening. تمام. ترتيب زمني هذا يحتاج إلى إيش؟ الانتباه للديتيلز. Paying attention to details. And another question, which of the following is not mentioned? برضو هذا سؤال تاني له علاقة بالتركيز على الديتيلز، إني أعرف هذا المعلومة أو this piece of information, is it mentioned or discussed in the text or not? Okay. Or then the next one or the next example, which is not true. بيكون معطيكي جمل مثلا a group of sentences, and which among these sentences is not true. وهنا برضو بدها تركيز للديتيلز عشان to know for each sentence how it was mentioned in the listening material. تمام. Now let's do some listening practice. Okay, here I'm going to play a series of short conversations, and for each conversation or dialogue you're going to answer one question. Okay, so now listen and answer this question. Does the woman agree with the man? Okay.
That film was good, though I didn't think the actor was as good as he usually is. I know what you mean. What a pity.
So, the male speaker says that the actor is not as good as he used to be, or the actor was not as good as he used to be. And she says, yes, I know what you mean. What a pity. So you should be able to understand that her response is similar to his. So she agrees with him. She says, I know what you mean. What a pity. So yes, the woman agrees with the man. Now, another question. Do the speakers have the same opinion? Listen to another conversation and answer the question.
I think the longest river is the Nile in Egypt. Are you sure about that? I think it's the Amazon.
Well, you should be able to understand that they don't have the same opinion, because she responded by saying, are you sure about that? I think it's the Amazon. So she thinks that the Amazon is the longest river in the world. Okay? Now, another question. Does the woman have the same opinion as the man? So listen to another conversation and answer the question.
Susanna seemed relaxed this evening. Actually, I thought the opposite.
Okay, so he says Susanna seemed relaxed this evening, and she says, actually, I thought it's the opposite. So the opposite of relaxed is not relaxed. So the woman doesn't have the same opinion as the man. Also, another question. Listen to a conversation and answer this. Do the speakers agree? Okay, notice that all of these questions are inferential questions. Okay, So you answer based on what you understand. Let's listen.
Paul's grown so much this year. He'll be taller than you are soon. That's true. I hope he doesn't want to borrow my clothes.
So you should be able to understand that the speakers agree, because the woman says Paul's grown, or Paul has grown so much this year, he'll be taller than you are soon. Tamam? He says that's true, I hope he doesn't want to borrow my clothes. Okay, let's do another listening practice. And for this practice, we're going first to do a preparation task. And the task is titled Work-Life Balance. So it's going to talk about balance between work and life. So for our preparation task, you're going to match these words on the left with the definition on the right. Okay, now take a minute or two to read the words and match them to the definitions. Okay, let's now have a look at the answers. So, work-life balance is matched with B, giving the right amount of time to work and to the rest of your life. Okay, so and overtime matched with D, working more than your normal working hours. And a best-selling book matched with A, a successful book. And an advantage matched with F, a positive thing about something. A concept matched with C, which means an idea. To fade is matched with G, which means to become less clear or visible. And freedom is matched with H, which means being free to do what you want. And the last one, mobility, is matched with E, which is the ability to work from different places. Okay, I hope you all got the correct answers. Now let's move on to the second task for this listening. Okay, let's get started with our first task. And for this task, you're going to read these questions and then listen to the audio or the conversation and answer the questions. I'll give you a minute or a few seconds to read these questions. Okay, now listen and answer.
This recording is from the British Council. Good morning. morning, everyone. On today's show, we've got Chris Benson with us, the author of No More 9 to 5, the new best-selling book about work-life balance in the current working world. Good morning, Chris. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Hannah.
So, Chris, tell us about your book and how the concept of a work-life balance has been changing.
Well, in the more traditional workplaces, people's working lives and their private lives are, or were, clearly divided. People often work from 9 in the morning until 5 or 6 in the evening. People sometimes stay late in the office and work in the evenings. This is called working overtime.
Okay, and what else?
Well, in these environments, it isn't common for people to work at the weekend or while they're on holiday. They can clearly separate their working lives and their private lives. And the evenings, weekends, and holidays are free to focus on non-work areas of life, such as hobbies, interests, sports, spending time with the family and friends, and so on. It's important and healthy not to spend all your time just working, right?
Right. So, what has changed? How are things different now?
Well, for a start, most people can now access their work emails from their mobile phones, so they are more likely to quickly reply to an important mail in the evening or at the weekend. The same goes for laptops. It's easier to access your work in the evenings from home or even from your hotel when you're on holiday.
That doesn't sound like much of a work-life balance. It sounds like all work.
Exactly. But this new mobility brings a lot of advantages with it. More people are now able to work flexibly. So if they need to leave the office early one afternoon to be with their family, they can catch up on work that evening from home or somewhere else.
That sounds good. So what you're saying is that although traditional divisions between work and life are fading, many employees now have more freedom to do their work from different locations and at different times.
Yes, that's it. This recording is from the British Council. To find more activities to practice your English, visit www.britishcouncil.org/Learn English.
Okay, I hope you all got the answers correctly. Let's now have a look at the correct answers. Okay, these are the answers. Let's start. The first question, how popular is Christy Svensson's book? It's very popular because she says the new best-selling book. So a best-selling book is a very successful one, okay? What is the work-life balance like in traditional workplaces? So the correct answer is work lives and private lives are clearly divided, and the speaker, the writer of the book, mentions this clearly. Okay. How often do people do overtime? Sometimes, because he says people sometimes stay late in the office and work in the evenings. Okay. In traditional workplaces, do people work at weekends or when on holiday? Well, usually they don't, because the writer says and the evenings, weekends and holidays are free to focus on non-work areas of life. How has technology helped people work with more flexibility? They can send and receive emails from their phones from home. Okay, and also the speaker mentions this clearly. And the last question, traditional divisions between work and life are fading. What does this mean for employees? The correct answer, they can be flexible to work when and where it suits them. And this is clear when the speaker says many employees now have more freedom to do their work from different locations and different times. Okay. Now look at the second listening task for this practice. Write the ideas in the correct group. So you're going to compare and contrast traditional workplaces against modern workplaces. So you're going to write the ideas, each of these 6 ideas in its correct place. Okay, and for this task I want you to pause this video and play the listening on your own device. The link for this listening is provided on your Moodle. And yeah, play the audio and try to answer the questions. And before you move on to the next part of this video, before you proceed, try to answer them. And now let's have a look at the answers. So don't go on to look at the answers before you listen and answer this part. Okay? Now, the correct answers. So in traditional workplaces, hobbies and sports only in the evening or at weekends. Fixed working hours, no working at weekends or on holiday, and this is clear in the conversation. Modern workplaces, possible to work weekends or while on holiday. Flexible working hours, hobbies and sports can be done at other times, also during the day. Okay, I hope this lecture was clear, and yeah, if you have any questions, please write them down and we can discuss them in our Zoom class. Thank you very much. See you then and have a nice day. Thank you.